I'm RJ Broadhead and very pleased to be joined by head coach and offensive coordinator Scott Milanovich. A couple of days into camp. How is it for you? You've been a head coach, but also a quarterback's coach last few years. Is it like riding a bike, running a training camp?
Yeah, it kind of is. You know, every situation is a little bit different. You're dealing with some new players and changing schedules and things like that. But I think it's gone really smoothly. Feels good.
So since you last ran a camp, you've been a quarterback's coach in the NFL. Do you pick up little tidbits from other coaches?
Absolutely. You're always, stealing something. Even if you don't like a particular offense you're in, there's some portion about it that you can add to what you're doing. That's no change. The 6 years I spent in the NFL, I took a lot from there. And, I'm hopeful that when we get out there and it matters, that'll show up.
So, for Tiger Cats fans, there's going to be a lot of changes on this team. I was looking at the defense from game one last year, and there'll be a maximum of 3 returning starters. So for you, is that something coming in, or is that just how things worked in the offseason? Like, you had some time with the team last year.
Sure.
Did you want to see some changes?
I just think it's always in our best interest to try to improve the team. And I think Ed and his staff did a great job at bringing guys in that are going to be able to compete. I think we're longer. I think we're bigger. I think that was something that we needed to get on both sides of the ball, not just on defense. So it's a physical game, and the rules are making it more physical even on the perimeter for receivers and DBs. So that was part of it. But just trying to bring in more guys to compete.
Speaking of longer, which is taller, a lot of tall receivers in camp, and that's kind of been the buzz for Tiger Cats fans, that we're going to see a big change in the receiving corps potentially. Was that something you targeted to get a lot more size there? And what advantage is that for a team to have that size at receiver?
Yeah, I mean, there's certain positions where I think it's important that the guys have more length. The other part of it really was what I talked about earlier. With the rules where you cannot cut in the perimeter anymore, it's become harder for receivers to block outside. It's harder to run screens. And the bigger you are, the more body weight you have to kind of stand in there while the DBs are running at you. So, those guys are going to have to make the team. They're going to have to prove it. But there are certain positions where I'm looking for a little bit more size.
So being a receiver just isn't catching the ball, especially now.
No, and I don't know that it ever was in the CFL. Sure, there's room for guys that aren't physically imposing. I said the other day, Chad Owens, one of the best receivers I ever had, and he's not very tall. I don't know, what is Tim? Tim's 5'10", 5'11". He led the league in receptions, but I think it's good to have a mix of guys that can really scoot and are hard to get on the ground, and then guys that are bigger and more physical.
One thing that the team really solidified early, and of course Ed and his staff would have had a lot to do with it, is the offensive line. And over the past couple of seasons, calling games, there was some inconsistency there, and a lot of it was due to injury.
Yeah.
But to have that cohesive group back who have all played together.
Right.
So often an offensive line gets overlooked when things are going well.
Right.
How important is it to have a group of veteran guys who all know what the other guy's going to do?
Well, it's critical. Also, we play at least 3 Canadians on the offensive line, and we've got at least 5 or 6 to choose from. So we have that kind of depth with the ratio. Our tackles outside are returning, and we've added a couple more they're going to compete for playing time. So, injury free, I'm feeling really good about where we're at there.
Quarterbacks, obviously you've got a ton of experience with quarterbacks, a lot of concern with Bo coming in with the walking boot. He's been out there in training camp. How has he looked to you?
He looked good. He threw an interception today. We talked about it. I mean, it was just, this is why training camp's so important. It was just a function that his drop was too quick, and he threw the ball before the receiver was ready. And those things only come with reps and with timing, with the guys you're out there with, and with what I'm asking him to do in terms of his technique. But he's looked good. We're going to kind of slowly, he got a few more reps today. As long as he doesn't have a setback between now and tomorrow, he'll get a few more reps tomorrow. But he's doing a great job.
No glove on his throwing hand. Is that just a training camp thing, or is that maybe a change we'll see this year?
I don't know. That's interesting. I hadn't even thought about it until you just brought it up. But now that you mention it, he hasn't been wearing a glove. That's a good question. I don't know. We'll have to ask him.
Okay. And Taylor Powell, of course, now signed through 2025, a contract he earned last year, being kind of thrown into the fire. And you were there pretty early on in his career. Is it kind of satisfying for you to see how he's progressed?
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy for him. Anytime you have a player like him that works so hard, that loves the game so much, puts so much of his heart and soul into it, especially a young guy. And, I think I've told you this before. My first concern was that it didn't ruin him. You hope this guy does not have to play as a rookie, but he had to, and he weathered the storm, got past that part of what am I doing out here to just being able to play football and had some success. And as you watch him out here now, his confidence level, his leadership level, his grasp and command of the offense is at another level than it was last year.
And with that starting experience, will he push Bo in training camp, or do you even want to go down that path right now?
No, I mean, I've said it all along. It's Bo's job to lose, and I fully expect that he'll take the reins and run with it. If something happens, if the injury lingers, or we have a proven guy that can step in there and play, so that's a good place to be in.
A lot of new receivers. You've been a quarterback. You've coached quarterbacks. How tough is it, and how long does it take to get that chemistry with quarterbacks and receivers?
I think it's kind of specific to the guys. There are a certain type of receiver that is easy to just judge his body language and what he's going to do. Other guys are more difficult, so that's a little bit of a case-by-case basis, I think.
What are you seeing so far?
I'm happy with where we're at. We're going to have to push through this next couple of days where guys' muscles get tight and they get nicked up, and you have to shorten practice and things like that. But we got to keep getting our reps. The guys are buying in. Meetings are great. They seem to be developing a bond, and 2 days in, that's really all we can ask for.
Tight ends. Are we going to see the tight end used a little more on the Hamilton Tiger Cats this year?
No, I hope so. I mean, we used an extra offensive lineman quite a bit on first down last year. It's gonna be up to them to see if they can do what we want them to do.
We talked about a lot of changes, and just speaking with the players and coaches last year, there were changes. Mm-hmm. And almost through the first half of the season, it was talked about we're still gelling. We're still figuring everything out. Is that a concern going into this season?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not really concerned with what happened last season. I'm happy with what we've got right now, and we'll see how it works out.
And you don't think there'll be a long bonding process?
I hope not. I mean, you never know until you get into the process. But the guys seem to be, like I said, gelling. They seem to like each other so far, 2 days in. We'll see what happens 5-6 days in when they get tired and cranky. But so far, it's been pretty good.
Yeah, there'll be a few rivalries formed. That happens in camp. Black and gold game coming up on Sunday for Ticats fans. They know some veteran guys. Are there a couple, maybe not specific players, because I know the coach doesn't want to cement anybody into a roster, but maybe some positions to keep an eye on in that game?
Yeah, I think most of the positions that you can watch. Offensive line, obviously, our interior three are who they're going to be for the most part. But the tackle position's up for grabs. The receivers position's up for grabs. A lot of DB positions, D-line, line. I mean, there's a lot of positions that are in battles. And the good thing is as coaches, we feel good about the guys we have out there battling. So we're just going to kind of sit back and see who takes the reins.
It's probably obvious for every team right now what the goal is, and that's to get to the Grey Cup. You've taken a team to a Grey Cup. You've won that championship. Mm-hmm. How do you get that message across without saying, hey, guys, we just have to win the Grey Cup. That's it. So
yeah.
How do you do the process? Because it's a long process.
Yeah, I haven't discussed it with them yet, really. We do talk about it once a year, and the goal, just to be clear, isn't to get to the Grey Cup. There's one goal, and from a coach's standpoint, the process is more important. You don't want to fixate on the end goal, because that means you're not probably improving on a daily, minutely, hourly basis. So you just try to instill into them the work ethic, the expectations that we're going to have, the things that we have to do to put us in that position in November, and then you just concentrate on being where your feet are.
No Ted Laurent, no Simone Lawrence this year, two longtime leaders, veteran guys, and players that other players looked up to. Have you seen guys step up, or is that that leadership role? Can that be overrated a bit going early into the season in training camp?
Yeah, I don't know that it's overrated, but it's too early to make decisions about that. You guys got to prove that over a longer time than 2 days.
All right. Well, still a lot of time to go, Scott, but sounds like everything's going well, and best of luck, and we will look forward to Sunday's Black and Gold game.
Thank you. Appreciate you having me.